you have an obvious double standard with insurrection that is blatantly available. I'm going to make a video about it. I'm going to make a video about all the times you use insurrection to refer to pre-January 6th stuff. We'll have a call to action for you to acknowledge that under your pre-January 6th standard that January 6th is insurrection.
Never once did I call any of the BLM riots an insurrection. Chaz or CHOP or whatever they're calling themselves now is the zone that they set up in Seattle. Insurrection is what it is. We've seen them have an insurrection against the country where they actually had a Chaz zone. They allow their cities to be burned, like in New York City, or they allow insurrectionists on the left. And now, when she sends the police in because she's allowed this insurrection to occur, interesting that there was a racist Maoist insurrection at a public college where police would be stood down. It is time to defund the universities. We have the right as Americans to not fund the insurrection of our country. But the president threatening to use legal force against terrorists and insurrectionists is deemed against policy of Twitter. They're cheering for active insurrections against the United States. They're cheering for the abolition of the police.
Never once did I call any of the BLM riots an insurrection.
Hey folks, please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to check out my newsletter. Information is in the description. Dude, how you doing?
I'm fine. I guess I'm a past Trump supporter and a weakling.
That's a wild statement, bro. That's just tactically, it's just a stupid thing for him to do, man.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm trying to tell. Of course, you have the Trump could never do wrong people, but I think you're starting to see, unlike with the Democrats that had to pretend that a human vegetable wasn't a human vegetable, that you're seeing a big fracturing in Trump space because actually they're not in a cult. And it doesn't make sense to me, no matter how you slice it up, anything from Trump's actually committed the most heinous crimes on Epstein Island to Trump was there but didn't do anything, to all the way in the other end of it where it's just like Trump's just like, I saw the evidence, there's nothing there, this is just all bullshit. No matter where you fall on that spectrum, this is certainly one of the dumbest political unforced errors that I've ever seen, the way that he's approached.
I agree. I totally agree with that, yeah. I don't think people are internalizing the true scope of what Trump is alleging here. Trump is saying that this is Democrat-inspired documents. They're basically all fake documents. And he's calling his supporters like rubes and stupid people and past supporters for not realizing that, at the same time not providing any evidence that these are actually fake inspired documents or even what the he's talking about. And I've kind of put out different reasons why I think it's not sitting well with the base. Number one, it's a kind of new allegation, so people are, I think, inherently going to be mistrustful of like a new allegation. Number two, it's inconsistent with even the DOJ promulgated narrative, so it's an internal contradiction within the administration because the DOJ doesn't say that this is Democrat inspired documents. They're saying that there's like nothing there. They haven't alleged that there's fraud, so it contradicts that. It's doesn't feel good for the base because it's changing an offensive posture to a defensive posture, because on the one hand you had a kind of narrative that was meant to attack Democrats, and now it's being changed into a narrative that's meant to like defend against Republicans, and so that doesn't feel good.
Pause on that real quick. Something even further with that is I think Democrats have been on the wrong side of the 80-20 issue of sort of sexualization of children through their ridiculous stance on the trans shit. I think this flips that on its head, right? Because Democrats who don't give a shit about the Epstein files, and I think you would agree with that. They don't give, but they realize
I think they're being opportunists.
Like, release the files, right? And now it makes the Democrats take that negative issue, the 80-20 of like we're smeared as sexualizing children, and now it's like we're the ones trying to figure it out. It's the Republicans that are bearing.
I think that there's I want to respond to that. So one, I think that the issue of Epstein, you're right, isn't as central to like the Democratic mythos because, and I think you'll agree with me, there is no smoking gun proof of any of the allegations that was so important, what I've called the conspiratorial mythology of the Trump situation. I'm agnostic, or sorry, of the Epstein situation. I'm agnostic actually, and like I don't know what happened with Epstein, but there has been high degrees of certainty, and I have to say, including from you, Rob, that there's something there. I mean, you've attacked other creators, you've attacked other people for going with the official narrative, but there just isn't any smoking gun proof. That,
what if I attack? Like the death story is ridiculous. That 2 cameras malfunctioned while 2 guards fell asleep.
Yeah, you're saying that you have a high degree of confidence that did not occur, and in essence, I'm saying that that has not been so central to the mythology or the story of the Democrats.
But let me be clear here, like on what I believe. I believe that the gambit could run anywhere. I think the death story is ridiculous. I think that there was clearly something shady going on in like the, I don't know, when is it, 2008 indictments or something like that. Like it was clearly that Epstein was giving more of a sweetheart position than a normal person would give. Now, what that means could mean anything, though. My gut feeling is that this is not as big of a conspiracy as many people feel, right? I think that there was no doubt underagers that were trafficked. I think probably the majority of that, and this is going to sound really gross. I don't care. This is just what I believe. I don't think it was like, a lot of people think it was like people drinking blood out of human skulls and like some of the shit you heard in Pizzagate, like, 10-year-olds being brought in. I think if the ones that were underage, I think it was probably, and I'm not defending this, so no one take this the wrong way, but I think it was probably something akin to, here's this 16-year-old girl. Hey, come on, let's get drunk, blah, blah, blah. You want to make some money, right? That's still horrific. Those people, they deserve to go to prison. But I think probably then a lot of people that were hooking up, you're at a party, you're not carding people.
It's fucking speculation, Rob. Like you're saying this, but it's just, there's no basis to say this. I mean, this is just you spitballing.
Well, but I'm telling you what I honestly believe is most likely the case. It could be that you'll agree with this. Like, there were underagers that were trafficked. Yes,
I think that's true. Yes.
Okay, so I'm just making the case, steel manning the position and giving my honest position on what I think most likely was the outcome. I don't think that it was to the level of like they're bringing in scores of 10-year-olds to feed them to powerful Republicans, Democrats, princes around the world. I don't believe that. Yet still I'm pissed off by what I see as a cover-up. That's what I'm trying to do, right? It's somewhere in the gambit of we all agree that there were some underagers trafficked to someone, and that there was no doubt powerful people there that were having some sort of sex.
Well, I'm in Epstein. I think that there's evidence that there were underagers trafficked to Epstein, but I have not seen proof. I want to be clear. I have not seen proof that it involves I would say smoking gun proof or proof that pushes me to a reasonable degree.
That's the point I'm making. It doesn't.
The answer should be I don't know from you, right? Like you're saying that I think
but the answer is not I don't know. It is I don't know that I can't say what the facts are, but I can say what my feeling is based on the circumstantial evidence. What I see is that there was an obvious cover-up in 2018 with things that are very abnormal that occurred. You had people like the investigating agent Acosta saying that he was told that there was connections to the CIA. They gave him sort of this sweetheart deal that's very abnormal. They put everything under lock and key, which was why in 2019 there had to be a big push from like the Miami Sun-Herald to get this stuff previously that was, basically sealed up from the first Epstein trial. To get that pushed. In addition to that, you had Trump himself come out and say, that he didn't sound too enthused, but that he would release this.
So what's your degree of certainty on a cover-up? Because let's just stick with the cover-up for a moment. So you're saying at a bare minimum, you believe that there was a cover-up from the Department of Justice. Is that right?
Yes, I believe that we're not being given all the facts. Do you believe we're being given all the facts on
I don't think we're
the connections?
I don't think the thing is, I don't know, is my answer to that, really. I don't know.
I mean, but yes, you could say that there's very few things in real life you have 100%.
No, I'm saying.
You think the preponderance of evidence? Do you believe, based on the preponderance of evidence, that we're getting all of the facts on this Epstein?
Well, okay, so I don't think we're getting. If your question is, are we getting all of the facts in the Epstein matter? I think the answer is, by defession, no, because Correct. We're not getting victim information. But I think
it's not just that.
Well,
but yes, that's exactly the case. Like it's not just victim information. You're probably not also getting information on people that they can't prove committed crimes that were there. I think you're not getting information on connections that there were.
Yeah, but that's what cover-up typically is meant to allude to. Cover-up is usually meant to, like, we are hiding culpable conduct for some kind of corrupt purpose, and that's what you're saying is true.
No, it may not be it depends on how you define corrupt. Like, is it corrupt for our CIA to have honeypots? Is that corrupt to you?
In some contexts, yes. In some contexts, no, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't. So the idea of how we would define corrupt is up in the air.
Sure. So if all you mean by cover-up is that they're stealing information and not releasing all information to the public, then I would agree there's a cover-up. But I don't think that that's what people hear when they hear you say that there's a cover-up. I think what they hear is the government is trying to protect bad people. I think that that's what your belief actually is.
I think that yes, I believe that what's going on is that the government knew about this more than they're letting on, and were connected to it in some way, whether they set it up or more likely they were aware that it was going on and saw that there was some utility in protecting powerful people so that they could use this to some sort of advantage, maybe against hostile powers who had hostile powers.
But there's not proof of that, right? I mean, like, it's just speculation, right?
You could say that that's my speculation. I think the preponderance of evidence shows that the CIA was involved in this in some way for reasons that I've already disclosed, in addition to other reasons.
okay, so now let's deal with the Trump part of it. Like, I don't. The reason why I take issue with that is like you've said there's some stuff that seems weird, right? It seems weird that Acosta gave, and I agree that it's a sweetheart deal in 2007-8. I agree with you that it's a sweetheart deal. So on that, we're like agreed. That's sussy. I think it's sussy. It looks weird that the guards fell asleep and that the camera, whatever theory is going on. I agree that it looks weird. I like the Maxwell stuff. Apparently, whether he's Mossad, that's like in question. And then the attribution of the quote for Acosta about the intelligence agency isn't the most source. And apparently he denied it in some other investigation. So, but like, I have enough evidence that like you've referenced here to be like, this seems weird. But I stopped short of saying something like, I believe with the preponderance of evidence that there's a cover up. I think that you would need more evidence, right?
But that's because that's in your nature. You also believe that Jabal Momin may have pulled that fire alarm, right? That's who you are. You're always going to defend the institutions, particularly if they're against Trump, because you suffer from TDS. But yes, what's going on is that it doesn't matter what you believe or what I believe. What matters is Trump said we're going to release files, and the way that this has been handled is a fucking joke. And if you are someone that was like, even if you don't think the preponderance of evidence shows that it's a cover up, you just think that there was something weird and it's worth being transparent about.
Yeah, I do.
That is the opposite of what we've seen.
No, okay,
like
that we can agree.
Saying, Pam Bondi saying like, oh, it's coming. And then in one of the most ham-fisted fucking, PR spectacles I've ever seen, giving these binders to these like, remember, we're talking about the most heinous possible crimes being committed against children and people alleging that there's a government cover up on this. And so you're giving binders to smiling influencers. That's a joke. By the way, that recalls phase 1, which would seem to implicate phase 2 is coming, right?
Yeah.
And then the next day, I believe it was before that she was asked specifically, is the list
on your desk?
Release the list, and she said it's on my desk. Yeah. That's what she said. Now, okay, I could buy that maybe she misspoke. And
I actually do buy it. Wait, can we stop on there? So, like, I understand why people are upset, and they have a right to be upset if you're MAGA, because she literally said the thing that people are attributing to her. Like, the question was, are we going to get the Epstein list? And she said, it's sitting on my desk. But I think in context, I would actually buy the misspeak, because she's saying, I have to look through it. There's a bunch of stuff on my desk. And she literally, in response, says, there's nothing here that's suspicious yet that I've seen. Because basically she's saying, I haven't reviewed all this stuff. I had to review it. So I buy, potentially, like if we're being ultra charitable, that she misspoke there. But it has to be, I think you're right, read in context of all of the pre-election hyping, all of the post-election hyping, and then Bondi having this ill-fated, disastrous decision to have this kind of press event where she's hyping that specifically up, and she's either so incompetent that she doesn't realize that all of the information they're releasing is already public knowledge, even like in a more redacted version than what's available publicly, or she's just totally misreading the MAGA base, or both.
So let's go back to I actually agree with you that I think it's, I'll just make it real simple. I think she didn't hear like necessarily list. I don't think that word was important to her. She just basically thought the question was like, oh, the shit's on your desk, the files. And she's like, yeah, there's files. So I buy that. However, clearly, given what she said, even if it was a misspeak, quote unquote, then why wouldn't she have held a press conference to discuss it? Yeah. Instead, the tactic was, okay, we're basically, here's the chain of events as I see it. Anyone could disagree if they want, but if they wonder what I'm thinking about it, I don't think Bondi ever really gave a shit about this. I think Trump probably half didn't give a shit about it, right? But it's something that they promised to pay. So here you go, binders. Because if you hear the story, the influencers, and I believe them, they were like there talking to like Stephen Miller, talking to Elon Musk. And then they were just like, oh, by the way, here's Epstein shit. And they were like, great. So they didn't have a chance to read it. And they walk outside and there's cameras and they're like, yay, great. There's, libs of TikTok holding this evidence that, the basis, and then it turns out it's just shit.
And it's horrible for Bondi because she's putting the influencers in a bad position, if you believe the influencers, and they're already priming anger among the people that you need to be your kind of supporters and to promote the message, So it's a really bad. Right.
So that's error number one. But I could believe she misspoke. But then where we went from there was, okay, well, the FBI's hiding shit from us. Remember that? Yeah, she was like, "Oh, we found out that was
so bad too." So for the audience, Ryan, it's Bondi releases a letter she writes to Kash Patel, which is, by the way, a little aggro. Like, there's already some acrimony between Kash Patel and Bondi, basically saying, we know the field office in New York is holding stuff from us, and we haven't gotten the full information, and kind of passing the buck, not directly to Kash Patel, but kind of to the unnamed members of the the Southern District of New York and passing the buck there, and to give the kind of, again, I think it's a little bit of a copium high to some of the support to be like, oh, it doesn't fully explain why she hyped up the release at all. I think that there's no good explanation of that. I think you're right about that for sure.
So then that's sort of a change in story, right? Yeah, it was, oh, here's the files. Then it was, oh, it's my bad. We were duped. FBI.
It's the field office, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, oh, never mind. That's all we're going to release. Nothing to see here. Okay, that's sort of a stark reversal. Then the next thing in the timeline is Pam Bondi gets asked this question while she's sitting there with Trump.
Do you guys know? Why are you still talking about this? That's a shot. That's the shot at you and all the influencers and everyone who's been pushing it. Like the strongest supporters of Trump have pushed this as not necessarily the most important issue, but as an indicative issue for trust building, for the broader narrative against the deep state.
That's right. For me, the reason I voted for Trump was that I feel there is institutional corruption, particularly agencies like the CIA, FBI. Right. And this would be the lowest hanging fruit of that, because a lot of these stories are hard to explain. Diving into Crossfire Hurricane versus the mid-year exam, diving into like Burisma and shit like that. The average person doesn't get that. The average person gets, regardless if the story's true or not, the narrative, powerful people committing most heinous crimes being covered up by government. That's easy. That's easy to understand. Now, even if that story didn't happen, that's fine. If they looked at the evidence and was like, okay, look, man, we looked and there's nothing here. That's fine. But then what that would require is, one, Pam Bondi's got to go, because
100%.
Already the double turning and what she did and everything is such a bad look that there's no faith in her. And then when
for
it comes
incompetence,
to
right? So what we're saying is, just to be clear, even if accepting the story, the official narrative, right? This is assuming the official narrative. Assuming the official narrative, you still want Pam Bondi to go because she messed up the press release and communications.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
So bad. So I have no faith in the things she says. Then when it comes to people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, I no longer trust them unless they get on front of the cameras and say, we were wrong. When we were not in office and we were doing the podcast scene and we told you all there's an obvious cover up by the Biden administration, we were wrong and we apologize. And we understand that you're not going to trust us because, I mean, is there any doubt in your mind or anyone in your audience that 2023 Rumble host Dan Bongino would look at what's going on right here and going, this is a fucking cover-up.
You know, 100% he would. But the thing is, you need to do that, and that's untenable because Trump is never going to allow or is going to fire you for coming out and saying, we f***ed up, we're very sorry. And so it's an untenable apology for them to give. So they have to give this like little leak of, oh, there's, Dan Bongino, there's a conflict, whatever. I think it's very self-serving probably from Dan Bongino because he's worried about his meal ticket, that if he leaves the administration, he's going to be cast in kind of the same level as Pam Bondi.
Be principles, resign.
Right. So
be a man.
Exactly.
That's what you should do then.
There's an internal, the internal kind of conflict. The office politics is now coming out in front because people are fighting for themselves. But I totally agree with what you're saying about Dan Bongino would have to come out and apologize if he's being principled, or quit if he's being principled. But even beyond that, like, he would need to apologize to all of if you're accepting the narrative, right? Assuming the narrative is true and there's no cover up, you owe the Biden officials an apology, right? You owe an apology to all these other people, like, because you're accusing them without evidence. Like, and so that's why the official narrative just doesn't sit well. Oh, sorry, I'll let you respond to that.
No, I couldn't agree more. If you legitimately are like, I really believe this, and now I see evidence that to me that shows that I was wrong, and I accuse people of some pretty fucked up shit. I mean, that's a pretty bold accusation. They're covering up for shit that's going on with Epstein, and now I see the evidence that I'm wrong. You at least owe some sort of apology to the people that you misled and to the people that
you accused.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's okay. It's okay to be human and say, I had reason to distrust these people because other things that I've seen them do, etc. But I was wrong. That's okay. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to admit it. It's okay to go for a greater good to some extent, right? Like, I get that. But I don't see at this point how you could go, unless, you're buying the fucking absurd QAnon 4D chess fucking theories, which I'm so tired of hearing about.
Yeah, they're still around, though. They're still around. You're seeing them, aren't you? You're seeing all these QAnon, because they're saying, there's one, this is the one, my favorite one, is the reason that Trump is doing this is to purposely get Democrats to finally, like, activate them on this issue so that he can do the turnaround and be like, so you guys do care about it, and, like, play this kind of 4D chess game. I think it's so absurd.
And why would you with your own audience?
Yeah, why would you antagonize them? I think it's so silly.
It's so dumb. Yeah, I mean, the only one that potentially that I would, and I give this like the one you just gave, I give like a 0.000000001 chance. I could give like 1/10 of a like a 0.00001 chance of this one being true. I guess theoretically you could be like, oh, Bondi goes to Trump and it's like, look, we're seeing obvious signs that evidence was tampered with, but we need to like do an investigation now into FBI personnel. But we're worried that they're going to clam up. And so Trump's like, I got this master stroke plan. We're going to go the exact opposite way with it. Just to alleviate that, like, now you're the corrupt guy at the FBI that buried this story. And you're like, holy, Trump's so on my side that he's stabbing his fans in the back. Maybe I can let my guard down. But that's stupid anyways, because to the people that say that, the best thing to do to let their guard down would be to not talk about.
Yes, I don't. And they could have. Every day. If you were being ultimate pragmatist, ultimate realpolitik, and you believe the official narrative, you should have just shut up. And you shouldn't have tried to do this when there's flooding, when you just passed the one big beautiful bill. Like you should not have done it at the time. And it looked so suspicious, the manner in which you do it. And that's just going to make everyone's ears perk up. There's one thing I want to ask you about though, because I saw a debate you had with this one.
Well, listen, I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take it. But I got shit to ask you about.
Yeah. You can definitely ask me yourself. So you had said to someone in a debate. I watched it, and I credit you for criticizing the administration on this stuff. I really appreciate that. I think that's because this issue is important to you. But you said something like, "This is what I think probably happened." What I think probably happened is Trump knows that there's some non-criminal but implicating information, like non-criminal but embarrassing information about potentially others, including members of Congress or perhaps their funders and stuff like that. And he knows that, right? So he's not covering up any crimes. This is a way of like, this is what you thought was the most likely scenario when you were talking to this guy. And what probably happened is these people approached him when they were heard that they were like looking over stones, these Republican Congress people, and Trump brought this up and said, hey, I'm willing to bury this in exchange for your votes on the one big beautiful bill. Isn't that like impeachable and resignable? Like if you believe that of Trump, that he's leveraging official power over an investigation, even if it's related to stuff that's not criminal and just like embarrassing stuff, but in any ways like affecting the decision, the official decision about whether and how to take a course of investigation in exchange for their votes on a bill for policy favors, isn't that like just the Epstein accusation with additional steps? You're basically saying that the government now is doing like your most probable version of offense is that Trump is leveraging, regardless of it's whether covering up crimes, covering up embarrassing material and using his official powers in exchange for votes. If that's what your most probable thing is, why aren't you calling for his resignation?
I don't think that would be impeachable or resignable.
Really?
I still think that I don't know. I think this sort of backroom deal shit happens all the time, right? Like, for example, like it would be the equivalent of like sort of if when Ford pardoned Nixon, right? If there were people that were like, listen, it's going to use so much political capital, whatever. If we continue with this, we'll just go along with the bills, Ford, that you want passed here. Well, you're going to get 2 or 3
even
votes
if it's a quid pro quo.
If you just go ahead and pardon Ford right now. No, it would be different if he's covering up crimes. I would say yes, because I think that what's going to happen is, you tell me if I'm wrong about this. In the normal case of events, they would never release. And when you grand jury style I'm hearing information that came out, if it didn't lead to a criminality.
Can you just stop real quick? I'm hearing something. That's me. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat your question? No one heard it because some newscast. Yeah. Sorry.
So like any if there's information that comes out in like sort of an investigation, particularly a grand jury investigation, right, that shows shady shit, but it's not criminal and it's not going to be used to impugn someone criminally, we don't normally release that information.
Correct.
For example, if I am a witness to some crime and the reason I'm a witness is I was cheating on my wife, right?
Yes.
They're not necessarily, if it turns out that my testimony is not needed or whatever, it doesn't lead to a criminal charge, they're not going to be like, oh, but by the way, Rob cheated on his wife. Here's the evidence.
Unless your name is Hillary Clinton. But yes, I hear what you're saying. I agree with that as a general principle, but that doesn't matter in this case, right? Even though it's a normal practice, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. You might have a different opinion, but even it's normal practice not to release embarrassing yet non-criminal information about someone unless there's an indictment, right? That is generally the policy of the Department of Justice. Rob is correct about that, is you let the indictments and filings speak for themselves. That's absolutely true. But if Trump is leveraging as a quid pro quo, and like, right, the presumption is, in your most probable scenario, the Republican senators or the representatives of the funders, they're coming and saying, hey, I want you to stop this. And Trump is leveraging that discretion, because it is in the discretion of the Department of Justice to further look into stuff, right? The investigatory discretion or the releasing discretion, it is in their discretion, even if they're not technically supposed to do X or Y. So if he's leveraging it and saying, okay, I'll do what you're asking me in exchange for your voting for my bill, I think that is corrupt as shit.
I know. And again, because I think that what's likely to happen is in that scenario, it's not even necessarily a quid pro quo. What it is these people are worried, if you keep digging, this shit will come out and maybe you guys will release this. And Trump's just like, listen, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. And they're like, look, we just want to get over this. It's time to move forward to get your agenda.
So if Biden did that, you wouldn't give a I mean, this is like, I can't believe you're saying that. That's crazy.
Let me be clear. I've criticized, like, it's different to say that it's something I like and support. I don't. I'm saying I can't support Trump at all for this. But that's different than saying he should resign, removed from office for it, or resign. Like, I didn't even call for Biden to resign with the obvious quid pro quo to get a prosecutor fined that was looking into his son. I didn't say that Biden should have resigned.
But if he did the exact same thing, but there were potentially crimes there, or arguably crimes there,
that's different. I agree with that. If he's covering up, like, if not only would it be that Trump should be removed from office, even he's president, and as you know, it would be difficult, but he should go to jail. If he's aware that there's like a tape, I'm just going to throw a name out just for the fucking sake of it. In no way am I impugning this.
It's an example.
But let's say like Mitch McConnell was on the island, right? And Trump's got the tape. Pam Bondi brings him the tape, like, here's Mitch McConnell with a 13-year-old, and then Trump goes to Mitch and's like, Mitch, here's the tape, buddy. Like, we're gonna release this shit unless you vote, my way. And Mitch is like, yes, sir. Yeah, Trump could burn in hell. That's up. I don't think that that's what's happening. It could be. I want to be clear. Any speculation that I have on possible scenarios, the most confident I would be is in the most confident position I have is like 25%. So there's still, I'm fully admitting that it's most likely that I'm incorrect. I'm just trying to look through all the possible scenarios.
You're not saying it's 50 plus, so the scenario that I outlined isn't 51% plus. It's just the plurality right now of your.
Correct.
Okay,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Got it. Yeah.
So, and also, look, you have to understand, I'm biased, right? I want to not despise Trump and throw him out. He's making it very difficult. But so maybe that influences why I'm like, well, let's look at the scenario in a scenario that would be, one of the least egregious scenarios. But even that, I'm like, no, I can't support it.
I'm gonna let you push me. I'm gonna let you push me in a second. I just want one follow up, and then I'll let you push me. Yeah. So this is really the scenario I'm coming down on. If Trump had a tape of Mitch McConnell, again, example hypothetical, fucking an 18-year-old, completely legal, but very embarrassing, and like Epstein is watching in the background, that's like some sort of cuck Epstein thing. Mitch McConnell's right there doing it, and Trump hauls in Mitch McConnell and says, Mitch, if you don't vote for one big beautiful bill, I'm gonna release this video of you an 18-year-old with Epstein watching, even though it's not criminal. You would say that's not impeachable? He shouldn't be removed for that?
It might be impeachable.
But that sounds like what you're saying, like you wouldn't call for his resignation in this most plurality of situations.
I don't know. I would have to see exactly what went down, but my gut feeling is that is something that I would want him removed from office.
Right. Even though it's not criminal,
that's
right?
That's my gut feel.
Yeah, that's your gut.
Correct.
Okay. No,
that's a different level. You understand, though, that's a different level saying, I have this tape I will release versus like people coming to you like, dude, can you drop this? There's going to be, because I think Trump's probably sympathetic to the idea of, people could have hung around with Epstein and not done anything. If we're assuming that Trump, as he claims, had some pictures with Epstein, flew in the plane, but didn't do any of these heinous crimes, and then if that's true, you understand this, right? That would make you probably sympathetic to other people that are like, yeah, same here, right? Like, sure, I went to the island.
Yeah, but he's not saying that, right? So like, if he said that,
well, no, I agree, he's not saying it. Of course not. But I'm just saying that, like, if that was the case, right, and
that's the Dershowitz argument, which I think,
correct.
which I'm sympathetic to the Dershowitz argument. That's why I'm like I'm agnostic about what's going on here. I'm just trying to hold, like you often try to do, right? Like hold them to their standard, hold the conservative hosts to their standards, hold Trump to his own words, and looking at the contradictions of the narratives they're trying to push, which is like at a bare minimum, Trump is covering up the cover up, right? Like he's alleging that or covering up the scam. He's calling this the Jeffrey Epstein hoax.
Well, let me give you, like, you haven't even came up with the best argument. Like, here's the best argument that I hear. It's like, well, Trump can't be, because, I mean, let's be fucking honest. The actions that Trump's taking, never more than now, is it like, holy shit, maybe Trump's on some sort of list. Maybe Trump did something.
And right? I think you acknowledge that.
A totally rational response to how insane, like, his comments would be. And then, of course, what's the answer to that?
Why didn't they release it?
Yeah.
Why didn't they release it? But the thing is, that's also applicable to what Trump is saying, right? Like Trump is saying this is a cooked up narrative. Then the question is like, well, then why didn't release the cooked up narrative? It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly the point. So this is apparently what Trump's trying to say. Like, these nefarious bastards, this is what they did well before they knew that Trump was going to win the election. So during the Obama, so that's pre-2017, and Biden administrations, they nefariously put fake names and fake allegations along with the real ones in the Epstein files. In the event that someone ever wanted to really investigate Epstein.
And they waited until the re-election.
That implicates, I guess, people that Trump would have some sort of affinity for. And so on one hand, we're told, well, that's up. That's a really up accusation, right? Okay. But if you're willing to go that far, you're not willing to go just the final step and be like, oh, and one of those names we added is Trump,
Trump,
and now we're going to release it.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you do that? It makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Like, Trump's own narrative makes no fucking sense.
I feel like the influencers are just ignoring that. Like people like Benny Johnson, who, first of all, I'm glad that you're critiquing some of these shills, because some of these people are literal government shills. Like Charlie Kirk saying something like, I'm just going to trust the government. You know, I'm done talking about Epstein. Why is that fair?
Look, I fucking eviscerated him for that as well. But be fair. He said that in the context of a 2-hour video where it's like, I'm not going to focus on it all the time. He did say I'm going to trust the government. Then he brought on Mike Benz and put a list out of 10 things that immediately need to be done.
And then he started immediately talking about it on Twitter when they were hearing about Laura Trump. So I agree. But like, then why even say that, right? Like, it's obviously he got.
Dude, I fucking eviscerated.
Yes,
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than that. I mean, so many of these people were so pathetic, and that's one of the things I've been saying. Listen, I might not be the smartest guy in the world. I might not even be the most handsome guy in the world, but at least I'm giving my authentic take. And if my side does something I don't like, I'm gonna fucking call it out. That's the way it is. What useful is cat turd? What is the use of him? He is literally Baghdad Bob. That's it. That's all he is. So I mean, you just want to hear a shill that's gonna say, what's his name? The fucking Dilly meme team.
Oh, that guy blocked me. Yeah,
this dude in February. He's like, oh, Dems on the Epstein list. This is the smoking gun. Trump's gonna devolve it. Blah blah blah. He's out there today like, you're a piece of shit if you're still talking about Epstein. It's like, man, your entire worldview changed in 4 months.
Yeah,
because Daddy Trump told you, you're worthless to me. You should be worthless to everyone. But people are going to want to cheer for their team, which brings us to you, Pisco.
Yeah.
So I think I've let you ask me the question about this. I've given my honest opinion. I think as far as right-wing people that have defended Trump since 2016, I don't know anyone who's been harder on Trump than me. There might be a handful of other people.
Some of the never-Trumpers have been harder, but I hear you.
Well, of course, right? But they don't like Trump, so that's...
I'm a stickler.
Where are you going to... have you done enough research to determine whether or not these Democrat insurrections are insurrections? Or are you still going to pretend you don't know? Like a fucking sack of shit that
wait a second. Some of them I think have been, and I don't know if you saw my coverage of them, some of them I think have been...
Yeah, where's your
ex
post on? I missed it.
Yeah, I don't know if I wrote an ex post about it, but again,
oh, that's weird.
Yeah, okay, wait. So I think that some of them can be credibly called insurrections for sure. Mm-hmm. I think that your assumption that we should treat all insurrections the same, you agree that that's like one of your assumptions, that all insurrections should be treated the same. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's not one of my assumptions. It's something that you've said. You said that insurrections itself are very serious under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and anyone who's connected to them, right, that, quote, engages, which, as you know, is very loose for what engagement would be, right? I haven't heard you call for one investigation. Not one. We have people engaging in insurrections, right? Democrats engaging in insurrections, while at the same time we have Democratic politicians doing things like breaking into ICE facilities and heavily criticizing ICE and saying that we shouldn't arrest the Democrats.
You're painting with a broad...
That's room for an investigation to see if they're engaged in this insurrection?
So you're painting with a broad brush. I have no problem with investigations, and I'm against the violence that occurred.
Why didn't you call one?
Whoa. I'm against the violence that occurred in some of these ICE riots, insurrections, and I would totally be in favor of investigations of those people. Now, for Section 3 specifically, the applicability applies to people who are previous oath takers, as you're well aware, right? And I have seen no credible evidence that any Congressperson has engaged in an insurrection. And if you want to get your best case, you can provide it, and you can give all the different.
That's just the point. Why not have the largest FBI? Why not have the largest FBI task force in history? Because
your assumption is that all insurrections should be treated the same. You just said it yourself. Why not have the largest?
No, I said
You just said why not have the largest investigation over this stuff?
Correct.
Because implying the clear implication, yes or no, that all insurrections should be treated the exact same.
No.
Correct.
No, this insurrection's worse, so it should have at least the equal amount.
It's okay. Worse so you think it's worse? You think it's worse than January 6th? I don't agree with that.
And by magnitude.
So you agree? It's given that I think that January 6th is worse than what's going on here. That there's no inconsistency in what I'm saying, right? Correct?
No, there's absolutely.
Yes. What's the inconsistency? Identify the inconsistency.
If you allow me to get my point out, like I agree with you that you could say that I think January 6th works because you're a bad faith hack, as opposed to more insurrections that we see occur over and over and over again throughout this country in multiple cities throughout the country, waving flags of foreign nations. Yes, you can ignore all that.
Wait. You agree? Yes or no? You agree? Yes or no? That they waved foreign flags. They waved foreign flags on January 6th. Yes or no?
Which flag?
I'm not sure which. I have the image somewhere. I don't remember exactly. But are you going to challenge me on that? Okay, so there were foreign flags that were waved on January 6th by insurrection by rioters. I'm not aware right now.
I'm not asking for proof.
But if I give me, I don't remember the exact country as I sit here. I don't remember the exact country as I sit here. But if I provide that, you will agree that that's like a stupid thing to base. Whether you're going to have an investigation. That's stupid.
I guess one or two people flying like I don't know what country's flag it would have been different than
who cares about
the Mexican flag being ubiquitous with the. And insurrections
who cares?
all over the place.
That is not
that's
not the determiner.
The red herring is relevant. The point I'll make is you could think that they're different in scale, but both of them would warrant investigation.
Yeah, I just said I was in support of the. I just said I'm in favor. I just said I'm in favor of investigations into the criminal events that occurred.
So then why are the Democrats? So you've criticized the Democrats that are saying things like they don't want this. They don't even want Democrats that are engaged in helping illegals leave. They don't even want them investigated. They say that that's Trump using lawfare. Correct?
You're going to have to point to specifics.
Right. Okay. Anyways,
yeah, you're gonna have to point to specifics.
Broke into the ICE facility, the judge that helped.
Well, so on the judge, I have actually been very consistent. I said it's absurd for the judge to claim that she can be held under Trump v. United States as having immunity. I think it's absurd to think that the ruling of Trump v. United States applies to her. I think that she should not be given that kind of immunity, that immunity for all state judges similar to the president. I don't ever agree with the president having it. And so if you watch my videos on that, I've been quite critical about the legal arguments of the judge.
That's different. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking is there is an insurrection that has a particular message and goal. That insurrection is to go against ICE and these deportations. While this is going on, Democrat officials that would be people that were previous oath takers are completely agreeing with that message, right? That's same
not
thing.
Engagement.
They're using language like there's language that's been used talking about the need to fight and other things like that. You agree with that, right? Same sort of shit you said was evidence that Trump engaged in an insurrection.
Incitement is considered engagement, but just using the word fight is not by itself engagement. So engagement.
Oh, yes, you were bad faith. I get it. You were
bad
faith.
It's not. So here's the question, right? Like, do you agree that the word fight and using the term fight can sometimes be incitement and sometimes not be incitement? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so in some contexts, fight could be an inciting rhetoric, and sometimes under the legal definition of the Brandenburg test, and in some cases, it could not, correct?
Correct.
So there's no contradiction inherent in what I'm saying right now.
That's not true. We would need to investigate whether or not we can see what the intent was of that word. And it's clear that the intent, and particularly some of the examples that was used in the Colorado case trying to get Trump off the ballot, was a fucking joke. For example, one of the times they used was they said we need fighters like so-and-so, not people like Mitch McConnell that are unwilling to fight. It is clear that the implication of that, which they used as evidence that Trump incited violence, the implication of that has nothing to do with trying to incite people to commit violence. It's talking about fighting in the halls of Congress.
You don't have a sophisticated understanding of the Brandenburg test. It's an
I don't give a
so it's a totality of
okay,
it's a totality. Wait, so
yes or no? Yes or no?
Responding.
Yes or no? Was the Colorado court incorrect to imply that Trump saying that we need fighters, not like Mitch McConnell, was a call to violence? Yes or no? Was that a call to violence?
So by itself, no. But that, of course, the court isn't viewing the statement in isolation, right? By itself, no. But the court isn't viewing the statement in isolation. So you're just wrong about the analysis.
Just to be clear, how does that, even if used in connection with something else, give me the circumstance we're saying we need fighters in Congress when used in connection to other things that has any bit of proof whatsoever that would justify that Trump was calling for an insurrection.
So I'm going to give you a hypothetical, right? So I'm about to provide you a hypothetical in which you're going to grant that the use of that statement in that hypothetical would be evidence in favor of incitement. That's all I need to show you a point that sometimes any statement could be used as part of the totality of circumstances to meet the Brandenburg standard. So an example would be, suppose that beforehand they had all planned to use code words, right? I'm not saying this is what actually happened, but beforehand they planned to use code words, and that statement was identified as one of the code words for like the ringleaders of whatever insurrection was going to happen. That would be a circumstance you agree. It's a hypothetical. It's not what actually happened. But in that circumstance, would you agree, yes or no, that would be relevant to the determination about whether you incited under Brandenburg? Yes or no?
Yes. I'll answer. I'll answer if you answer in response.
Sure.
Right. Okay. Would it also be true that you right now potentially could be using code words and how you're talking because you're actually on the Epstein list and you assaulted children.
Yes.
Say that. Wait. Let's get this. So we
no, I'm not.
You're saying there's a possibility that you're using code words.
I'm saying there's a logical. Yes, you're being bad faith. You're being a bad faith hack. Bad faith hack.
Wait, a simple yes or no. Wait. A simple yes or no.
I already said yes, right? I already said yes. You're fucking flailing, bro. You're flailing. You're flailing.
Let's ask the question so everyone could hear. Right? You're saying that there is a chance that you're using code words and actually you sexually assaulted children.
No, as in the actual real world, no.
You just said no.
Whoa. In the actual, wait.
You're being bad faith.
Rob.
That's bad faith.
Rob. Right now you're scrambling, right? So
I'm not scrambling.
I will tell you. So
what you're doing is pointing out
in context
an absurd hypothetical.
So I'll explain.
Hypothetical is literally, well, what if words don't mean what words mean?
No, you're granting. You're granting. No. So identifying specific politicians can be part of a totality of circumstances test to get to what Trump's intent was. That's obviously okay. If you're using a totality of circumstances, if you use up, whoa, if you bring up a,
I understand you're scrambling. I get it. You're scrambling and you need to talk over me. I get it. What you're doing is bringing up absurd hypotheticals that you know were not the case to justify the fact that you can't answer for the fact that the Colorado court used as a potential evidence that Trump said that we need people to fight, not people like Mitch McConnell. You know that it's bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit.
So your defense of that is, but wait a minute. What if all of these were?
You're not understanding. You're not understanding. Rob, calm the down. Rob,
code words.
Calm.
That there were code words.
Rob, I know that's so. How many times did I say in the course of that saying that I know that that's a hypothetical? All I'm trying to establish is that in a totality of circumstances test, that statements can be indicative and can be probative of someone's intent. So in a totality of circumstances test, for example, let's take a look at the case. What's this woman's name who was indicted for?
I'm uninterested. Whoa. Why don't we focus on the actual Colorado case?
Okay, yeah.
Why don't we focus on it instead of hypothetical?
So in the actual,
why don't we focus on that case?
Yeah. So in the actual Colorado case, we can pull up the Colorado Supreme Court decision and we can see where the allusions being made to certain politicians is being used and what it's being used for, right?
You know that case, so tell us.
All right, so let's wait. Hang on a second. The fact that I know the case doesn't mean that I memorized every single bit of evidence they use and in what context, right? You agree with that?
Sure.
So why don't you just chill? I'm going to bring up this Colorado Supreme Court opinion right now, and we'll take a look at whether that's
since I generously answered your question with yes, no, I'll ask you again since you wavered. Is it not true? A simple yes or no. That's all we need. Is it not true that you may be using code words to cover up the fact that you've actually molested children?
And if what you mean by true is
because
I don't I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. I actually don't know what you mean. I actually don't know. Rob. I actually know. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that question. I don't know what you mean. I don't understand what you mean by that question.
Do you? Okay.
So I have a question. I don't know what you mean.
I'm going to explain what I mean, and then I'm going to ask the question, and I demand that you give a simple yes, no. Not contextualizing, just a yes, no.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I mean. When I say code, by the way, you acknowledge when you asked me if it could be that they use code words, I didn't say I don't know what you mean. We both understood what you meant, right?
Well,
but
I don't know. Yeah, you understood what I meant. No, wait. I'm addressing you. You understood what I meant. I don't understand what you mean.
Right, even though we're doing the exact same scenario.
No, I think that I don't understand what you mean.
I'll ask. So, could it be that you're using code words?
If what you
do
mean,
you understand what I'm saying? So far?
No, I don't. If you let me explain, I can explain where the hang up is. Do you want me to do that or not, or do you just want to keep doing your little spill?
Go for it.
If what you mean is it logically possible? The answer is yes, it's logically possible.
Okay, then I could have said the same thing when you were like.
That would have answered my question.
I knew it was implied to what you were saying.
That's the modality I was referring to. That's the modality I was referring to.
So now you understand the question, right? You understand it now?
Yeah. If what you mean by logically possible, then yes.
Now wait. Okay. Now let's give some time for this to be clear. Could it be that you're using code words to cover up for the fact that you assaulted children?
If what you mean is logically possible,
then why can't you just answer yes or no?
Because right now you're literally
clip. You answer yes or no.
So you're literally clip chimping right now. So because this is why. That's right. Because you're being bad faith right now, and I'm actually yes you are. Yes, you are. No. So you're admitting right now.
You answer yes or no.
You're admitting
all the time.
So you're admitting right now that your motivation here is not to further like understand and clarify, but to actually just have like a compromising clip out there on the internet. And that's not what I take to be good faith. That's bad faith. I take that to be bad faith. I take that to be bad faith, not good faith.
What is bad faith is that you are unwilling to use the same devices that you use on others.
But I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that. No, I wasn't doing that.
You always do this. I demand you answer yes, no.
I wasn't doing that. So Rob, you're triggered. You're triggered. So I'm going to explain why. Wait, I'm going to explain why I wasn't doing that. Rob, I'm going to explain why I wasn't doing that. The reason why. So I was using the logical modality when I was asking you that question to show you that statements can be highly probative, even if they on the face of it seem like innocuous. There could be many situations in which they're highly probative. And in totality of circumstances test, I was establishing a baseline of understanding to say, yes, in some circumstances it can be probative. And I wasn't trying to clip chimp you, and it's just a very easy logical modality that you can agree to or not. In this, your intention, as opposed to elucidating meaning and understanding and having some context and building common ground, is just to farm bad clips. And that's what I think to be bad faith.
That's not true at all.
That's bad faith.
You're too stupid to get what my intent is. My intent is to show how when people use absurd hypotheticals that they know aren't grounded in reality and demand yes-no answers, that often it's just to get some sort of debate bro type victory so that you can shirk having a serious conversation about the truth.
No,
so I employ the same
tactic. I'm pulling up the opinion.
Fine, let's test it. Let's test it then. How about you're capable of just giving a yes-no to this question then? Right? We'll test
Which
it.
question?
We'll see if my theory is correct or not. Question. Is it or could it be that you're using code language to cover up for the fact that you've assaulted children?
Under the logical modality, it's logically possible.
You can't answer yes, no.
Wait.
Thereby proving my point.
No, but you're not including.
You literally are proving my point.
If what you mean by could, if what you mean by could be true is it logically possible, then the answer is yes. I'm just clarifying my meaning so that you don't farm clips.
No. No. We already talked about. You already asked the question.
Yeah. So right now you're just trying to farm clips. I'm not going to let you do that.
Let me ask the question again then.
Yeah.
Could it be that you're using code language to cover up from the fact that you've sexually assaulted children?
If what you mean by could is a logical modality, then the answer is yes.
You can't do it.
I'm not. Wait. Why would I let you farm clips bad faith? So you're doing bad faith.
Now this proves exactly what I was saying. When Pisco employs this tactic, where he employs some absurd hypothetical that he knows
running
has
to the
nothing
meta,
to do
running
with
to
the
the meta,
grounded
running to the meta. You're running to the meta.
That's what you
You're
just
running
did.
to the meta.
You said, okay. You're going to give me a chance to explain?
Yeah, sure.
You brought up the meta first. You said, oh, when I do this, this is what I'm employing. But when you do it, you're just looking
because you brought it up.
That's you.
Wait, no, you brought it up.
Running to the meta.
You brought it up. No. You ran.
Yes or no?
I'm not explaining. No. It's not me. No. I'm answering you. No. I'm answering no. I'm saying no. So no. I'll explain if you want. Yeah. So I'm not running to the meta because I was defending you because you said you went to the meta and said this is why you're being a double faith, bad faith, double standard that you're using. You're doing the same thing that you're demanding me that you're not doing yourself. That was you bringing up the meta and me responding to you bringing up the meta and running to the meta. So no.
It doesn't matter. Then I'm responding to your response. Now you're accusing it. You could have initially said I'm not going to answer because you're being meta, but you didn't. You responded by being more meta, to which I then responded. And
I don't understand what you mean by more meta. So I don't understand what you mean by more meta. What do you mean by more meta?
I mean that you are actually worse by going through this scenario that, when you're clip tripping and what I'm doing is this. It's just
I asked you a question. What do you mean by more meta? What do you mean? I'm asking you a question. What do you mean by more meta? I don't understand what you mean by that.
You're using more words discussing the meta than I was.
More actual words. Oh, so that's what you mean by more meta is the amount of
talking about it.
Okay, so
the amount of time that you're putting
when I said run to the meta, I wasn't referencing like the amount of words used in the meta. Yeah.
Hey, Pisco.
You're getting blown the fuck. I have the McConnell quote now. I have the McConnell quote.
Could it be that you're using code language to cover up for the fact that you've assaulted children?
If what you mean by could is a logical, if what you mean by could is a logical, if what you mean,
answer yes or no. You can't answer yes or no.
Yeah,
answer yes or no.
Yeah, you're being bad faith. You're being bad faith. You're being bad faith. You're being bad faith.
So
I'm not going to let you clip chimp me.
We'll move on from the point.
Okay, so the McConnell thing.
Wait, but I'll finish by saying this, and you can bitch about this being meta, but I think it's important that my audience and your audience hears it. Pisco knows that when he's doing this, he's just looking for sound clips and be like, see, they admitted that this is a possibility. So,
I'm not.
No need to interrupt. That's constantly what you're doing. So in this case, what he did was brought up a hypothetical when I said it was absurd that the Colorado court used language that said Trump saying that Mitch McConnell needed to fight more, or someone needed to fight because Mitch McConnell wouldn't in Congress, that was somehow implying that there could be incitement to a literal call of violence. He said, well, I could give you a situation where that would be the case, right? Could it be that language to them doesn't really mean what those words mean, and that hypothetically there was an agreement that when he uses the word McConnell, it actually means go grab a knife, and when he uses the word fight, he actually means meet up at this place. And it's like, I answer honestly. I'm like, yeah, I guess that could. Oh, well, there you see, right? Then when I employ the same tactic to him, he's like, no, I refuse to engage in the yes, no, because I think that this is sort of bad faith. That you're just, the reason that I'm bringing up that scenario is to prove that when you're trying to get these fucking hot
that's not topical. That's not topical. That's meta. That's topical. That's not topical.
Which is literally Pisco's go-to
We're not here. So we're not here. It's not topical. So wait, Rob. I just let you go on and on. Wait, Rob. I'm going to respond.
I will. No, I will. McConnell fighting. Why that was an actual call to violence. Go ahead. What was the evidence? Yes. Let's hear it.
So we'll definitely go to that, but I'm going to respond to what you just said. It's actually not topical to discuss like my.
This is meta. This is meta.
So
why are you getting so meta?
It is
meta. I don't understand the meta.
It is meta in response to your meta. So, but like,
it's actually the meta.
It's actually. I let you talk, right? So I let you talk, right? Why are you like not wanting me to talk and respond to what you said?
It sounds meta that you're criticizing.
Because you're triggered. Because I'm going to bring clarity and actually explain. So the reason why, like you're so fucking triggered, right? So it is not relevant. It is not topical to be talking about like my general tactics. Like that's not what we're here to discuss. Like my tactics, what I do. Like we're talking about a specific thing. Like you brought up because you wanted to like own me on insurrection, which you've completely failed on, because you're implying that like there has to be something the same response to all insurrections. That was the topic that you brought up. You didn't bring up the topic of you're a bad faith piece of shit, right? That's not topical to what you brought up. And you're pretending that every time you bring up another topic, it's fair game for you to start attacking me personally and saying I'm a bad faith hack. But everything you're saying here about your like double standard attack, whatever, that's not what you brought up to discuss. And you're going into the meta by doing that, and I think that's a distraction, and I think it's bad faith.
That's fine. That's meta that you think it's bad faith. Now, I've proven my point how your bullshit hypothetical tactics are garbage, that you always demand that other people answer yes, no, and you're unwilling to do it yourself. Everyone can see it. Now, can you show me the example of why the Colorado court thought that Trump saying this person needs to fight unlike Mitch?
Yeah, obviously you're wrong. Of course you're wrong. Obviously you're wrong. The court didn't say that the December 26, 2020 tweet, quote, if a Democrat presidential candidate had an election rigged and stolen with proof of such acts at a level never seen before, the Democrat senators would consider it an act of war and fight to the death. Mitch McConnell and Republicans do nothing, just want to let it pass, no fight. The court did not use that as, the smoking gun proof as that was incitement. The court didn't say that was incitement. So you're just wrong about that.
I never said they did. Now you're misrepresenting what I
said.
Saying? What I said was, you're the person that said, oh, no. They're not saying that itself was incitement. They're saying that in a list of other things. That's part of the evidence that tells a great story. My argument was, but how is that any sort of part whatsoever? It's clearly talking about fight in the colloquial sense that we always talk about Congress people needing to fight. So can you explain to me, because you would acknowledge
that wasn't part of the legal analysis. That's not in the legal analysis, Rob. That's in the factual section. That's not in the legal analysis. That's them reciting all of the facts.
What does that fact have to do with the underlying implication that he was inciting violence?
Well, I think it goes to his intent that he doesn't want the election to be stolen, and that he was calling his supporters to stop the election from being stolen. It's relevant for that purpose.
But he said a lot of shit like that, and they didn't put that in. They used this because it said fight.
Yeah, no, I think it's relevant to what Trump's stated intention was in calling people over to the Capitol. His stated intention for calling people to the Capitol was to stop the steal. I think it's good evidence of that. I think it's relevant to the analysis, but I don't think it's like the smoking gun proof. It's part of a totality of circumstances test.
Just real quick, what's the smoking gun proof?
So again, it's a totality of circumstances test. I think the best case of engagement with respect to incitement is knowing that that his words were being heeded by his by the members of this riot insurrection that was occurring in the Capitol, knowing that they had breached the Capitol. He tweeted, Mike Pence did not have the courage at a time when he knew that the Capitol was breached, knowing that it would incentivize and promote the insurrection that was then ongoing. So I think that's,
so then
that is not at the ellipse, right? That is when the insurrection is ongoing, with the knowledge that his statements would be heard from his supporters who were all on blowhorns, and he knew that they were watching his tweets. Intent. So you have intent, you have proximity. Obviously, Trump's words are going to be heeded. He knows that, and he tweets out what he says. I think it's a really good evidence of incitement. Yep.
Okay, so knowing that, so you would acknowledge that there were Democrat insurrections that have occurred here, many of them here recently, correct?
You'd have to, at least one is what I'll say.
Okay, and yet we've seen Democrat politicians deny that and say that there wasn't violence and it's fake, so they should be investigated, right?
Why?
Why? Because it's clear that your implication just there, correct me if I'm wrong, was this. Trump saw that an insurrection was occurring and yet still said the thing that he knew would rile up the insurrectionists.
With the intent to make it happen.
Let me finish. In this case, the Democrats see that the insurrection's occurring, are still saying the things they know will rile up the insurrectionists, and denying that the insurrection's occurring.
Yeah, so I think that with Trump, you have the proximity and intent that you don't have for the other cases. And if you have a better case, you're going to have to show it to me. That's right. You're going to have to show it to me.
Clear,
wait,
Rob.
You're going to have to show me an ongoing insurrection or violence where the Democrat in charge was specifically trying to inflame that specific situation with the intent, and we have the good evidence, and we'll have a conversation about it. But you don't have the goods right now.
It's all bullshit.
You don't have the goods right now. You don't have the goods right now. You don't have the goods.
Why haven't you tweeted anything about these Democrat insurrections?
So again, you're implying that all insurrections should be treated equally. Is that right?
It doesn't matter. You haven't tweeted at all.
So maybe because I view the January 6th insurrection as worse. Is that consistent?
So what?
Is that consistent?
So just to be clear, even if that was the case, which fine, even if that was the case, you spent. Here's the difference between
you're fucked because you have no clue what to say right now because you know that I treat the January 6th insurrection differently because I think it's worse, and that's obviously the explanation.
Again, I'll go on with my point here. Here's the difference between me and you. There are things that are core issues that I'm primarily concerned about when it comes to politics. One of those would be what I see as institutional corruption. Now, you might agree or disagree with me, but I've been steadfast on that, using pretty much every platform I can, calling that out on any side. So in this case, where I see Trump covering up or blowing up, like just politically, how stupid he's being, I'm talking about it on my X platform. I'm talking about it in my shows every day.
Yeah.
You spent the 2024 election, your primary issue, and I know this because I debated you and I saw the things you were talking about. Yes, one of them that you were super concerned about was Tony Hinchcliffe telling a joke. We know that was very important to you. But the other thing that you spent so much time focused on was insurrection. And oh my God, we can't have these insurrections.
The Jan 6 insurrection.
That was a term that you were so focused
on.
The
Jan 6 insurrection. The Jan 6 insurrection. Yes.
You're spurging out. I get it. You're spurging out. I get it. Now we see that there are Democrat insurrections as they're occurring. Someone shows me clips of you being like, I don't know. I'll need more evidence. We don't know if
that was in the immediate aftermath. That was in the immediate aftermath. That was in the immediate. I haven't seen anything.
I understand the need to talk over me so that people can't see how bad faith and stupid you are. As this is occurring, right? Like the next day you're watching the videos and you're like, I don't know if this is a public purpose. I don't know if they're all engaging in violence.
You're not quoting me correctly.
I can't make a judgment.
You're not
we'll
need
more evidence. We'll need more evidence. Lying. Then you never go. People are asking you over and over again on X.
I did review it.
I did review it over and over again on X.
I did review
it.
I did review it. I did review it. So you're wrong about that. I did actually review and say that I think it's probably an insurrection.
On X?
I could. Why would it have to be on X?
Right, so you didn't put it on X.
Why? Wait. So now I have to have the same level of response to every insurrection. That's what you think that my standard is?
No, that's not what I think.
Okay, so then you're stupid, right?
Okay, is it true that you could be using coded language to cover up for the fact that you sexually assaulted children?
I have a question about insurrection, though. I really do have a question about insurrection.
Why is it that I can answer yes, no, and you're incapable?
Under the logic, so in reality, no, and under the logical modality, yes. That's my answer to that. I've answered it multiple times. You're just trying to clinch him. You're bad faith. So I'm just clarifying my terminology. I'm just clarifying my language. Okay, I have a question about insurrection, actually. So under the pre-Jan 6, under the pre-Jan 6. I have a question.
The point you just made.
Yeah.
Before you answer this, the point you just made. No one's suggesting that you have to have equal outrage of this stuff. What we are suggesting is when you put so much hyper focus on, oh my God, insurrections, oh my God, and officials that could be connected in Section 3 of the 14th Amendment and blah, blah, blah. You spent so much time. And then when it comes to a Democrat-led insurrection and people are blatantly asking you on X, where you post all the time, right? And you're a big tough guy about it. In fact, not only do you post, you repost your post as soon as you make them. You
get to the point.
One post about, actually, this is an insurrection. And the other thing attached to that is, yes, you did eventually cover, and yes, you did begrudgingly go, oh, maybe this is an insurrection, but your initial look at it when it was obvious was bullshitting, trying to downplay I don't know, I'll need more evidence before I can
you just hate that I'm consistent. You just hate
that are doing it for the same reason.
Here's the question, Rob. So Rob, is all of that explained by someone considering one insurrection worse than another? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, it can't be explained by that. You're saying it can't be explained by that?
That is correct. That's
okay. All right. So that is incoherent. Like, I think it's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
You see how it is? I answered yes, no.
Go for it. Explain it.
I have a chance to expound. Okay. Yeah. Now, you looking at what is an obvious insurrection and saying, I think it's less of an insurrection than January 6th, does not explain the fact that when the evidence was right in front of your face and you were watching the videos, wait, I can't make a determination. I have to get more evidence.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
It does not explain that.
Just wait 1 second. So with respect to, I'm not saying it's more or less of an insurrection with respect to, these different things. I'm saying one is more or less like bad overall. I'm not determining one is more or less definitionally an insurrection. Number one. Number two, with respect to what's going on on January 6th, it took me months and waiting until there's legal arguments about the disqualification clause. At first, if you look at my Twitter feed, I was very skeptical of that argument initially before I read it. And so you're rewriting history, this notion that I was like obsessed with the definitional term insurrection right away. I really wasn't. It took me like reading about the historical definition of that term. It took me time analyzing it, what it was. So you're just wrong, like factually, historically. And what you're pointing at is like what you're pointing at is like and in the moment in which that happened, I was live and people were like, is this an insurrection? Is insurrection? I said, I just need time to like look at the case even just a little bit. And like the day after, I said, yeah, this is probably definitely an insurrection. I compared it to the tax cases where they were attacking tax collectors in the various different insurrections, and how that was historically considered a definitional insurrection under the circumstances then. So I think that you're flailing because you understand that it does make sense for someone to treat two different events differently based on their severity. You're like, and that's okay, and that's perfectly consistent.
That's a red herring. No one's suggesting that people can't treat different events differently.
Okay.
I think that your argument that the insurrection January 6th worse is nonsensical.
Okay, we disagree.
But you could subjectively believe that. That's fine. So we'll table that argument. What I'm saying is this. I never said that right out of the gate. In fact, to the contrary, my argument is that you and people like Destiny that came after you, you guys started to come to this once you realized there were people out there saying this because you saw that you can make political hay out of it. You initially saw it and thought, yeah, it was a riot that got out of hand.
No.
And then once you saw that these definitions, terms, hell, let's even steelman your argument and say, once you saw the legal theory and you became aware, you were like, yes, then it's clear that this was an insurrection.
No, I thought it was always serious. I always thought it was serious. I was writing I didn't end up publishing it, but I was writing a law review note at the time about January 6th. I always thought it was serious. In my private like Facebook and all that stuff, I was posting about it. So it absolutely is not the case that I just thought it was a riot out of hand from the beginning. You're just wrong about that. And I don't know what
whatever. Yeah. It's irrelevant anyways. Once you came to the conclusion, I see the legal theory that this is an insurrection, then you were like, yes, it's an insurrection. So now, presumably, yes or no? I know that's real hard for you. Do you still hold the same definition for insurrection as you did about January 6th?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you do. So now we don't have to. The waiting portion previously was finding the definition of insurrection legally. Now you have that.
I've always had it.
You see this video. You see that there are people smashing cop cars, that are chanting all this shit about ICE, and you're like, well, I don't know. We don't know if they're attacking. If those attacks are all occurring for the same purpose, we don't know that. And so I'll need more information. That's what you did. You know it. I know it. Everyone watching knew that you were fucking copying out.
You're just telling me. You're just telling me. You
wanted to downplay.
So now the argument. So now the argument is about whether I'm good faith or bad faith. And now you're saying because I took a day to examine. So because I took a day to like inform myself a little bit more about what was happening before I came to determination. I took some time. You're soying out right now, and you look unhinged. I mean, and then after
that's meta. You saying that I'm showing out?
No, wait. You're attacking my character. You're attacking my character.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So it's my character an issue, and so I think it's topical to what you're talking about. So you're bringing my character an issue because this is what you always do. You don't want to talk about the actual substance, and you understand fully that my explanation completely explains everything.
I spent the entire beginning of this letting you ask me any question. Here's
and I was being good faith and calm, and you're not.
The issues that I have a core belief in, I'm willing to call out my side to the detriment of my channels, of my supporters, of my political ideology. I don't give a fuck. I'm interested in the truth. I'm interested to the best of my ability, understanding that I have a bias, but trying to overcome that bias to be as objective as possible and to let anyone who watches me on any of these platforms know this is exactly what my feelings are. I'm not saying that means that anybody has to comment on every single issue on X, blah, blah, blah.
Bro.
But this issue that is so core to what I believe, I've came out in a very unpopular stance to the point where the president is saying people like me are weak.
Stop with the victim shit. So I support you. No. That is not. So this is so bullshit.
Finish.
Go for it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're spurging out. It sounds like you're soying out there. Well, just let me finish, right? You, to the contrary, have done everything you can to downplay the bullshit that occurs on your side. You downplayed the human vegetable that was Joe Biden. You downplayed the corruption and the lying to law enforcement officers in humorous ways,
Kevin
like we saw with Jabal Bowman. And now on this key issue where you focused on January 6th so much, where you focused on insurrections and Section 3 of the 14th Amendment and wanted to have all these debates on the legal definition, you're like, at first, I don't know what it is, and the next day, maybe it's an insurrection, but it's not as important as other insurrections. Fucking pathetic. Everyone can see what you're doing.
Let's be clear about something. So I said I was not ever like equivocating about the definition of insurrection. My definition has been consistent the entire time, so I wasn't like unsure about the definition of insurrection. That's a lie. I was saying I'm not sure if what is happening right now in real time constitutes an insurrection under the legal definition. I'm going to need to take some time to look at it. I took some time to look at it. It was like a day. We can actually get the timeline if you want. And then I said, yeah, probably some of these are definitionally insurrections for sure. And I said that, and I stood on business, just like I did, by the way, on a ton of different things where I take unpopular opinions all the time. I recently had this humongous drama where I'm taking an unpopular position against Ethan Klein's lawsuit in some ways. I'm taking unpopular positions with respect to even the judge that you were talking about, the Wisconsin judge.
Very popular.
Hang on a second. Wait a second. I lost hundreds of subscribers because of my audience, which is way more like on the side of Destiny and the kind of libs, and they are on the side of like Hassan and Tankies, that kind of stuff. And I took a position. I stood on business. I lost hundreds of subscribers. People were sending me all kinds.
If they left you for that, that's fucking stupid.
Not just that. I lost. I took this position against this judge in Wisconsin. I took a position. I called what Biden's pardons impeachable. I called that in real time. I said that when Biden, did the border thing and closed down the border, I said it was against the law and impeachable. I took this position in favor of Merrick Garland and against the people who were saying Merrick Garland should have been more political and should have been attacking, Trump from the gate, should have immediately arrested Trump. I was taking a position against that. And so, no, I stand on business, on my opinion all the time. And right here, I'm answering you in real time about why I consider Jan 6 an insurrection to be because I substantively think it's a worse insurrection, much, 1,000 times worse than the ones that we're seeing with respect to ICE. And it has to do with the transfer of power, it has to do with who's responsible for it, has to do with the overall threat to the system, which I don't view as present and as existential in the same way in the ICE situation. So stop with this bullshit. Let's actually debate the issues. I want to actually debate the issues, but every single one of our conversations gets bogged down in you're a bad person, you're a bad faith piece of heck. I just think it's boring.
You are. It's obvious. It's obvious on the core issues. It's obvious how you'll twist and turn. And look, it's not just me. Now, I get it. This is a bad argument to be had, but there are all sorts of people that I think actually support you. I want you to do well, right? You can't help it. You're this super aggro person that wilts like a flower when anyone attacks your character the way you do to them. You can go to your X feed and see you like being a uber tough guy. You pussy, Dave Portnoy. Why the won't you debate me? Repost my own message. Ha ha ha. Like you act like that all the time. And then when people point out the obvious bullshit double standards that you employ,
what's the double standard
on the core issues that you believe,
what's the double standard?
The double standard is on one of the core issues you talked about, insurrections. You won't even answer questions publicly on X.
I did. Whoa. So now you're so specific. So I actually did address the issue about whether some of these were insurrections. I did answer that, and now you're saying, well, you didn't publicly address it on X for a comment that maybe I don't even know if I saw one or two of those comments. And again, I did address that, and so now your point is distilled to, even though you did address it, you didn't address it within 24 hours, and you didn't do so on the forum that I'm talking about, and you're a bad faith piece of hack because of that. Even though substantively the reason why my reaction is stronger to Jan 6 is obviously because I think Jan 6 is worse. There's no double standard there. This is bullshit.
The double standard is obvious. It's just like it is on all of the issues that we talked about when it comes to these sorts of institutional corruption. Yes, when it comes to Ethan Klein versus Hassan, you'll take a side. Good for you on that, I guess. Yes, once Biden was a human vegetable and was out of office and issued these pardons and you knew it wouldn't hurt your side politically, good for you, I guess, that you were like, yeah, that's impeachable. Let's get rid of him in the last, 24 hours that he's in office. Let's get rid of him now. What a brave stance. Yet you covered up for him being a human vegetable. And yet you covered up.
Wait a second. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I covered up for him being a human vegetable. What do you mean by that?
Do you think that were you calling out Joe Biden's obvious?
Well, no, I asked. Sorry. I asked you a question. Actually, can you answer it?
Yes. Okay. You're right. You were covering up for the fact that you were never calling out Joe Biden's obvious significant cognitive decline before the debate performance.
That's not true. So if I produce you a clip of me doing so, will you apologize to me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll do that. In his interview with our office, Mr. Biden's memory was worse. He did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of his interview when his term ended. If it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president? And forgetting on the second day of the interview when his term began. In 2009, am I still vice president?
So getting back to what you were saying, though, about what I was going to talk about, you said you were prepared to bring it back to questions of mental fitness.
Yeah, because I think that is like it or not, that is a campaign issue, and it's a legitimate campaign issue, is whether or not the person who is going to be the head of the executive branch and the leader of the free world is mentally okay.
Real quick, I will apologize that I said that. Still, though, I would need to see the context of the clip. If it was you saying that he shouldn't run for office, that he was being declined, that he couldn't do the job, etc.
So,
I will apologize for saying
I'm
that you
engaged.
never made.
So unless I say he should not be in office, I'm engaged in a cover-up. That's what you're saying?
Yes. What I'm saying is that it was obvious that he was so. Did you believe once you saw the debate performance that he should no longer be the candidate?
Yes, I did. I called him out on that. You can see me live time with Silly.
That's what I thought.
Wait. Silly Serious is in the chat. We both did a live reaction to the debate. You can see my mouth drop when I see his answers on some of this shit.
I believe that.
And so you guys can see my reaction in real time and how stunned I was at how poor the performance was actually. And so all of this is publicly available.
Dealing with everything we have to do with. Look.
Bad moment.
If we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Oh, my God. Disaster moment for Biden.
He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Oh, this is going to be...
How do you address concerns about your capability
some of which
to handle the toughest job in the world
have presented themselves tonight? It was all made public, and I did call on it. I called on him to step down. I mean, it maybe took 5 or 6 days for me to come to that conclusion. I had conversations with, my family. Because we were like, should he step down? Is this even viable? Because obviously, my position is, and it's not changed. I would prefer a human vegetable Joe Biden. No, I think it's overstated to say he's a human vegetable. I just want to be clear. I think even now that's overstated. But it is concerning everything that we're hearing from Jack Tapper and all the different the what's going on. And how they sort of fell into this decision to continue running him. And so, yeah, I think that there's a lot of problems with what occurred there. I don't go as far as you, but I did call on him to step down.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. You're saying shit that I agree. Yes, you, like almost every other Democrat that ignored how bad he was before the debate, once you saw the fallout and how bad it was being seen now by the American people, you realized that you need to, in an anti-democratic way, remove him from the ballot and install someone else. Yes, my definition of cover-up, it was obvious that this guy was significantly cognitive.
That's not definition of cover-up. What is your definition of cover-up? What do you mean by cover-up? I'm asking for a definition of cover-up.
I mean that it was clear that the Biden team
That's not what I'm asking. What is the cover-up? I'm asking you, what do you mean by cover-up? The term cover-up. I don't understand what you mean.
The term cover-up means withholding material facts.
How am I withholding material facts? How am I withholding material facts?
The Biden team withheld material facts.
You said I engaged in a cover-up, dipshit. You said I engaged in a cover-up.
Would you shut the fuck up? Would you shut the fuck up and listen to me? The cover-up that the Biden team had was withholding material facts about how impaired he was. Your cover-up was that I guess the cover-up, maybe not the correct word.
Apologize to me, bitch.
Actual term, let me use without the actual term what I'm accusing you of.
Yeah.
You saw his cognitive decline and how significant it was, and you intentionally downplayed it.
Okay, so will you apologize for saying that I covered up his cognitive decline? As you've been saying, I watched your stream, by the way, Rob. You constantly say Pisco covered up his cognitive decline, and now you're saying, oops, maybe it was the wrong word, even though I said it for months and months and months.
I will apologize if you are willing to answer with a yes/no question, the following question. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Yes/no answer. Okay.
Unless I don't understand what you mean. Unless I don't understand what you mean.
Could you be using coded language to cover up for the fact that you assaulted children?
Nice. If what you mean by the logical, if what you mean is the logical modality, then yes. But
then I give you no apology for anything.
Okay, cool.
If you're unwilling to answer that question with a yes/no, which you demand of others, then no, I owe you nothing.
Okay. So I want to talk about insurrection for a little bit. Under the pre-Jan 6 standard, where you called protests on college campuses insurrections, you called many of the black, or at least a few of the Black Lives Matter protest insurrections under the pre-Jan 6 insurrection standard that you used and you applied was Jan 6 insurrection.
I don't understand the question. Can you tell me?
Yeah. What don't you understand?
Let's go through them word by word.
Okay. Under.
Under. Now, could it be that you're using that word codedly, that we don't understand what that word really means, and so that it could have the opposite definition? It could mean colloquially what we would call over.
Rob.
Is that a possibility here?
I love this, Rob. I'm asking, do you understand the question?
No, I don't understand the words that you're using here because they could. Will you acknowledge this? Yes, no. Each word that you're using could theoretically be coded to mean something different.
If by could you mean logically could it? Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, then I don't understand the question.
Okay, so when I say under, what I'm talking about is according to, or using, right? In other words, applying.
When you say according to, what do you mean by that?
Okay, that means applying. I mean, we're gonna get to some primitive.
When you say applying, couldn't you mean? Couldn't that be a coded word?
This is great, Rob. I hope your audience likes this. I mean, you are so afraid to deal with your double standard. You have an insurrection double standard, by the way. You know that you have an insurrection double standard.
When you say are you being sarcastic? Do you mean that you hope they don't like it? I don't know. I don't understand your point.
Yeah, kind of being sarcastic and funny. Yes.
So you're acknowledging that when you use the word like, you were actually intending sort of the opposite purpose of that.
Yeah.
Okay, given your standard of using words to mean the opposite in sort of a coded direction, how can I be certain of any of these questions that you're asking?
So I just want to be, this is so beautiful, right? Like, you have an obvious double standard with insurrection that is blatantly available. I'm going to make a video about it. You know what? I'm going to make a video. I'm going to make a video about all the times you use the term. I'm going to make a video about all the times you use insurrection to refer to pre-January 6th stuff. And then we'll actually, at the end of it, we'll have a call to action for you to acknowledge that under your pre-January 6th standard that January 6th is insurrection.
Isn't it possible when I was using the term insurrection in any context, I was using coded language to mean something different?
Beautiful. So you have to you have to run back to this because you're a bad faith hack.
Is that possible?
You're a bad faith hack. You're a bad faith hack. By the way,
why are you attacking
very
my
interesting
character?
that
That's absurd.
You're willing to vote for people who cover up Epstein. You're willing to vote for people who cover up Epstein.
Why are you attacking my character? I don't understand why you're making it meta.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Is there anything else, Rob?
No, I got the point that you're a bad faith hack.
You don't want to answer the insurrection shit? You called Black Lives Matter shit and student protest insurrections. You don't want to answer for that?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, that's right.
When you say Black Lives Matter,
we'll make a video of it. We'll make a video of it.
Organization?
We'll make a video of it.
You rage quitting? That's cool. I just don't understand.
I'm not rage quitting. I'm here.
Okay, cool. I'm still here. So can you explain the question? What do you mean when you say this word Black Lives Matter? What do you mean by that?
That's a movement / group that existed in 2020 that was protesting what they perceived as racial.
When you say movement or group, can you define movement or group?
I understand it to be like a collection of people and associated ideas that constitute like some sort of a common thread among those people.
Okay, so when you say common thread, that would mean that they would all have to have 100% similar beliefs?
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, so how percentage-wise would their beliefs have to be together before we'd say it was a common belief?
I don't think that I can put an exact percentage on it. I think.
Well, then how are we able to determine whether or not what you mean by this term Black Lives Matter?
I don't think that in order to define something, you need to have an exact, like Sorty's paradox, determination of everything. I mean, that would apply to every single category of all time. And I don't think that I need to do that to convey meaning to someone. And if someone is unable to understand that, I think it's like pretty difficult to have a conversation.
Well, that sounds reasonable. That actually sounds good. But since we've already agreed that people could use coded language to the opposite, which you thought was a very salient point to be able to make when we were talking about the insurrection of Trump, I feel that we have to be very precise in our language now and what we mean. So there seems that there could be some ambiguity when we're talking about common causes. So I'll need some sort of more specific thread of what you mean by common cause. For example, were the people that called themselves Black Lives Matter in Texas, in Dallas, where we saw officers being shot, 5 police officers killed, is that the same Black Lives Matter as like Maria Collars that stole a bunch of money and got a bunch of houses, which is the same as those that were burning down a police precinct, which is the same as those in my little town that had a peaceful protest? Is that all Black Lives Matter? I don't know.
I think
tell me.
I think as an instrumental, like just for us, for discussion purposes, for you to understand, I don't take this to be the actual definition of Black Lives Matter as a group or association, but we can just use this as like a signifier to help us, clarify this conversation. Someone who sincerely claims to wave the mantle of Black Lives Matter for purposes of this conversation and to understand further what we're talking about, I think could be construed on a self-ID basis of Black Lives Matter, understanding that that's not the actual definition of Black Lives Matter. And I wouldn't say self-ID is an actual definition, but for people claiming the mantle of Black Lives Matter and who appear to be sincere in their actions, again, that's going to be kind of subjective as well. But again, all of these conversations require some level of subjectivity. So then it seems
what you're asking me seems to be an impossible question. First, you're saying that we should go with the definition that you're admitting is not the actual definition. Then you want me to remember back 5 years ago what the definition was that I would have intended, knowing that you can't even give me a real definition today. All of this in the context that you've already admitted that people could use coded language to mean the opposite of what they're saying, which you have done just 5 minutes ago in this conversation. So how can I be sure that the correct questions being offered to me and I actually understand what's going on?
It's a heuristic. You either understand it, you don't. You're claiming not to understand it.
I do not. That's what I'm saying.
I think you're being insincere. I think you're being insincere. I think you do understand it. I think you've actually made fun of. Wait, I want to finish what I'm saying.
That seems unfair.
So I want to be clear about something. Before, you were making fun of people like counterpoints for using this term like Republican loosely in this kind of way, and so I think that you kind of understand what you're doing. You're being bad faith piece of shit hack. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
This is ridiculous. We're trying to have a substantive conversation about sort of a claim that you think I made. We're trying to be substantive about it, and all you're doing is attacking my character.
Yeah, I mean,
that seems absurd.
I don't. If I'm not able to convey this meaning about BLM, I think it's. I think we hit ground. I don't know. What do you think?
I would say that most likely is the case.
Yeah.
If you can't define, that's just one term. I mean, there's like 12 in the question you asked me, and we're stuck up on one of the first nouns that you offer, a BLM. I mean, what would you do? And if I start admitting to you that, yes, words could be coded to be the opposite of the truth, and actually, yes, in a conversation we just had, that's what I did, how would you have any trust, let alone when I'm admitting, by the way I'm defining this term is not how I truly think that this definition should apply?
I don't understand what you just said.
One, you admit that language could be coded, correct?
What do you mean by that?
Well, previously you said that people could use terms and have meanings for it that are different than the average meaning that we would normally have. Coded.
No, I don't understand what you just then said.
Okay, do you understand that portion of it?
No, I'm not following.
Right, so now you see the point. Once you introduce the concept of this coded language, admit that you're engaging in it, admit that you're using definitions that aren't the accurate definition. Now you can see even you don't understand what I'm saying since you've led us down this road. So how can we ask these questions?
I'm not sure what you just said.
Right. Totally get it.
What?
All right.
Huh? Can you clarify?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm sorry, what'd you say? This is so stupid, dude.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Huh?
All right, so for my audience, so I think I'll be streaming at 10 p.m. today. So I think that at 2 o'clock, I probably have to shut down here. Because as you know, I usually have a meeting that comes in at 2 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you over there.
All right, he muted me. Wow. What an insane, what an insane conversation. He's so mad. It's actually insane too, because he knows he's cooked on the insurrection point, because he used the term insurrection to apply to like a student group going and crowding like a speaker. And obviously under his vision of insurrection, if that's an insurrection, obviously Jan 6 is, he doesn't want to say it. And so that's why he clammed up at the end there. For people not understanding the point I was bringing about, like, could it be coded language? That was just to establish a baseline. Like, words in context can be relevant to an inquiry. Like, that's just to say, do we even agree foundationally that like words that on their face could seem innocuous and right in some contexts, in other contexts could be inciting or something? Like it was just to establish common ground. And he got so triggered by that. I was going to go more specific on how that statement from McConnell, which again, I think he's misusing in terms of the legal analysis, how that would be relevant to an inquiry about incitement and engagement. But he was too triggered to actually do that. I was just trying to establish common ground. I wasn't trying to bad faith, like clip chimp him. And then he was doing his whole Epstein example specifically to clip chimp me. And so that's why I kept saying, logical modalities and as opposed to the other modalities of the word could and meaning logical possibility. But yeah, no, I think it's really good demonstrator there that someone like Rob, you need to have ultra clarity, right? And as you get ultra clarity, you can completely isolate and insulate or yourself from any kind of attack that he's doing. So with respect for insurrection, yeah, I agree that, the insurrection term can apply to things that are much, 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 much less serious. Yes, absolutely. Under the historical definition, I've always accepted that. That's part of the reasons why I'm promoting a test that's grounded in history and legal tradition. But it doesn't mean that I have to have the same reaction. And you see, he was totally flustered by the notion that I could react differently to an insurrection that I view as more serious. And then he has to go down to like, oh, you're being inconsistent because even though you addressed it within like 24 hours and you called them insurrections, you didn't do it on Twitter in reply. And initially you said you wanted to get more information before you made that conclusion. And so therefore you're a bad faith hack and you don't actually have principles, which is like a much weaker claim. And he apologized for saying that I was covering up because he knows that his definition of cover up, which is like withholding some material fact, that I didn't engage in it. And so he has to apologize and walk back that I covered up, even though he's been saying that I covered up Biden's cognitive decline for like now, I think, years. He's been saying me specifically, right? But just a pretty wild, pretty wild, yeah.